Hello everyone, I'm here to present my thesis about the cloud maturity model. My name is André Duarte. Introduction. In the past few years, organizations are struggling to move their services into cloud, using cloud and base their services in the cloud environment. The market is expected to grow 20% a year in the next 7 years till 2020, and it's considered one of the major technological challenges of the organizations nowadays. The problem is defined. Organizations do not have a systematic approach, for instance, frameworks that allows them to migrate and manage their services into cloud. For this research, I use design science research methodology that consists in 6 steps. Identify the problem and motivation, defines the objectives of the solution, design and development. In this case, we will create the methods, the demonstration, evaluation, and finally communicate the results of the research. The related work start with outsourcing. It can be seen as a disaggregation of the enterprise itself. Operates in 2 distinct markets: information technology outsourcing and business process outsourcing. The first one is an older version of the outsourcing. Business process outsourcing is more recent and offers several options. You can use offshore outsourcing, nearshoring, onshoring, etc., depending on the purpose. The main drivers that leads organizations to outsource are reduce costs, outsource non-core capabilities to focus on their core capabilities, and access to providers' skills and experience. Sometimes when you are performing non-core capabilities, we are not so expert as the providers. Although those drivers, outsourcing has several risks associated, such as escalation, the winner's curse, an interesting factor when the supplier offers a service to a minimum cost and cannot be profitable with that and starts to deviate from the original contract. Communications, and one major problem is the rigid contracts. So rigid contracts sometimes don't allow innovation on both parts, and this is a problem. Cloud computing. This is the definition of the National Institutes of Standards. Is it there? And the cloud has 5 essential elements, 3 service models, and 5 deployment models. There are some drivers too: equivalence, abstraction, automation, and tailoring. This mainly says that you can have the same thing that we have in-house, but forget about the management of don't worry about the management in-house. Someone will do it for us, about the infrastructures, the software, platforms, etc. And they have major challenges such as taking the security and legal risks, the definition of contracts the same as in the outsource, blocking the dilemma when you are stuck to a supplier and the prices to change supplier are bigger than the keep with the bad services. And finally, managing the cloud, due to its novelty, it's very difficult to manage the contracts, the suppliers, and managing all about cloud. Finally, maturity models can be used to assess and assess the total state of the organization in terms of process and capabilities, and can provide an evolutionary path to reach the desired state, taking into account the initial state. This research will study capability maturity model, CMA for services, IT capability maturity framework. Common properties of the maturity models are a number of levels that have a description for each level, and each level has each descriptor has a number of dimensions. Problems. The majority of the maturity models are more focused in what to do, what processes, than how to perform those processes, and are focused mainly in the processes and forget about the people, and that an organization are not only processes. People perform those processes. Existing solutions for outsourcing, there are life cycle applied for both ITO and BPO. From the outsourcing life cycle, there are proposed the cloud life cycle. This life cycle does not solve the tese problem, because they are only focus, in this case cloud, but only cloud in terms of IT services and not IT knowledge services that are another area. In the case of the outsourcing life cycle, it lacks the concept of cloud. Besides that, they are not a maturity associated. They only say that you need to perform these processes, but they didn't say how to improve it and how to perform it. In terms of cloud maturity models, there is one proposed by ITCMF, but it's only applied to IT services, and we need to have an IT department that are using ITCMF, or otherwise it's not applicable. So our proposal is a cloud maturity model based on an outsourced life cycle. This is mainly because the outsourced life cycle has both is applicable to IT services and IT enabled services, due to its applicability to ITO and BPO. And we will base our proposal on the continuous approach of the CME models in order to focus on process improvement. This is an example of an assessment with the maturity model. In terms of demonstration, we will demonstrate the proposal in the public organism, the municipality of Cascais, and we will do an assessment of the state of the organization, and then propose an evolutionary path for achieve a target state. In this case, we have at darker the actual state, and in gray the proposed target state. So we'll try just an example of what you can do. Evaluation. We will use interviews and questionnaires. The scientific community through the submission of papers. Moody and Shank's quality management framework to evaluate the quality of the productive methods, and finally also for principles to evaluate the research itself. This is what is done already, not much, and this is what I will do in the next phase. In terms of communication, I will simulate a paper for EAAA clouds and another paper for another conference that it's not defined yet. Besides that, we will create the life cycle and methods, etc. And that's all.